Hello, Junior Church. Now, Thwaite and I have been having a talk here about the garden, which you see behind me. And the garden is Thwaite's kingdom. He's completely in charge with what goes on there. And he manages all the other animals. He's very nice to most of them. But deer, we live in the country, you see, and there's a wood next door. And when deer come in, he shows them out. And he walks very close behind them. And he has a special bark he makes. It's not a loud bark. And he makes it clear to them that they've got to get on and leave the premises. So he ushers them down to the end, and then they jump over the fence, which he can't do, and off they go into the wood. And that's the end of the matter. And in fact, we've taken great care to put wire netting round the garden to stop Thwaite getting out. But the fact is that he knows ways of getting out, at least two. But he doesn't use them most of the time. He stays in because it's a matter of agreement between him and us that he stays in the garden and he's in charge of it. But if you get a summer evening when the lights go and the nightlife in the woods next door is becoming apparent, then sometimes the temptation is too much for him. And out he goes and chases things and sniffs and does all the things he likes to do in the woods. And then he comes back. But although he can get out on his own, he can't get back in. So he sits at the gate and he has another special bark. It's just a single bark, just one. And he produces that bark. And because we're a little bit worried about him by this stage, we hear it and we go and let him in. And normal service is resumed. So I said to Thwaite, do you think this is a bit like sin, really? Because we're all God's children. We're God's family. And we exist together within the bounds that God sets for us. But then we get a bit too tempted. We go off and do something. And Thwaite said, don't know about that. Never thought about it like that. I'm just going to the woods. And I said, okay. But when you come back to the gate and you do your special bark there, are you hoping to be forgiven? And Thwaite said, yes, I am. So I thought, well, that is a real comparison then, because we know when we sinned. We know when we step outside the area of behavior that God wants us to occupy. And so when we come back to him, we're pretty worried, aren't we? And we think, we shouldn't have done that. Is God going to forgive us? And will we go back to the old relationship with no trouble? And God is very willing to forgive us. And he does accept us back as though nothing had gone wrong. But we have to learn from our mistake and not be tempted off again. And that's the difference, really, between us and sin and Thwaite and the call of the woods.